affiliated nonprofits with that. So we have ISIS, which is our special ed department. So we have a special ed director that works with all of the 13 schools. We had EdVisions Schools, which was the nonprofit 501c3 that had to be created when the Gates Foundation found us and said, we want to replicate both the cooperative, the teacher ownership, and the project-based model. So we have EdVision Schools under there, and the third one is the Minnesota Association of Charter Schools. So we have that. There's about 150 plus member workers who are part of that co-op, and right now we're running on about an $8.6 million budget. So we've gone from being pretty small to being wonderful. So as we did this, we also, yep.
Can you say how many students are in all of those schools?
I would guess there's probably 1,500 students altogether, because they're all pretty small schools. So one of them gets closer to 200, but we know the tipping point with schools as well as in business is right around that 150. So, you know, we're trying to keep that with staff, and then also with students. We know 150 students is probably the max that we would like to see in these schools. So we opened up the school. We opened, yes?
Do the students from one school do joint projects with students from other schools?
Yes. Okay, the question was, do we have students at our school who do projects with students at the other school? Yes, we do. We have 2 elementary schools that are within our mixture, and then the other ones are high schools. So our high school students do a lot of mentoring in the elementary schools, and we have to do the transportation. You know, we're in rural Minnesota, so we need to travel 20 miles or 30 miles to get to the next school to do that. But we feel it's really important to do. We also were the school that founded the Farm Frogs and started that hoopla. So we took the kids out on a field trip. They were wandering around, they started picking up frogs, and they noticed that these frogs had 5 legs instead of 4. And so we took pictures of them, we posted them on the internet, you know, and said, what's causing this? And pretty soon we had a call from the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency saying, get those off. You know, we're not, no. And they said, well, can we come down and see you? And we said, sure. So they came down. We became very good friends with Judy Helgen with MPCA. And our kids were able to work alongside her. We bullied kids from other schools to work alongside at the same time. And we worked with UW-Madison, and one summer we did a project where we raised xenopus tadpoles in aquariums. And I, by license, am home ec and art. I got to be a biologist for the summer. I got to raise tadpoles. I got to learn how to anesthetize tadpoles, which is kind of tricky, actually. I got to put them under microscopes and check for limb bud development. Anyway, that's a wonderful thing about these schools. Before to do lesson plans, it was like I didn't even have to open the books because I knew what pages we were going to do. I mean, it was so boring. This way, I get to see something new every single day. Whatever my kids learn, I learn at the same time.
Is there a similar model for the sake of continuity?
We have 2 elementary schools that we work with, and both of those elementary schools do a lot of projects. They do a lot of environmental work, a lot of service learning, so they kind of move up into new country. We pull kids in from 13 surrounding districts, so we're not all Missouri Henderson kids. We're students from a ways away. But as we created this and created the cooperative, all of a sudden when we had more people who wanted to be part of the co-op, we just went, ooh, okay, so what does that mean? So we decided we had to kind of define behaviors that we expected out of cooperative members. And we for sure wanted collaboration, because I think that's why you are part of a co-op. We wanted to make sure that there was civility. You know, if there's disagreements and everything else, You need to learn how to do that. We trained everyone on restorative justice. We do every vote, and every person who's part of the co-op has a vote in decisions, you know, and it's a fist of 5. And I saw some of this from the toxic soil buster kids yesterday, and they do this. We just do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and this means I'm going to sabotage the heck out of it and make sure that's not going to work. And so we look at that. Communication is key for being part of an educational cooperative, and we need to make sure that we communicate everything. Co-creation, everyone plays a role in what we do, and accountability and commitment. So when we created this, and as we started having teachers, and all of our teachers are part of this huge EdVisions co-op. And then a school over here, like Minnesota New Country, will send a request in for X number of teachers that they would like to have come down and be part of Minnesota New Country School. And that group of teachers, as they break off from EdVisions, guarantee results for students, guarantee that we're going to keep on working with those kids. We guarantee that we're going to create a family setting for those kids, because we think that's absolutely key, that we create a family setting. We also created it so that professionals could start taking charge of their professional life. When I was in the traditional school, I was told what I could teach, when I could teach it, how I could teach it, and I really didn't have a lot of control over my professional life. I even asked to go to a conference one day, and they said no. And I'm trying to improve my professional background, and they said that's not important. We need you to be in the classroom. So hopefully things have changed a bit. All of these schools and members have to be accountable for the whole program. So I'm accountable to Minnesota New Country School because I'm a part of that group that's out at New Country. But I'm also accountable to EdVisions as a whole to make sure that the cooperative is strong. And we want to make sure that that happens. We're a group that embraces changes. And if you don't think there's changes going on with students, you haven't been in a classroom. Kids today are doing amazing things that I never would have considered. We didn't even have computers when I was in the classroom. And I think of what kids can do on their cell phones right now. And it totally bogs my mind. We also wanted them to gain independence. So truly, this should be a group of teachers who become incredibly independent, voting back to EdVisions at all time. We wanted them to become leaders. So we put, EdVisions offers leadership training. We co-op with Hamline University and Minnesota State University Mankato and provide leadership training to members of the co-op because we think that's absolutely key. We all contribute to each other's professional development plans. When I taught in, Little St. Clair, which was a tiny community about the same size as Henderson, and I taught there for 9 years, I never ever got the opportunity to work with the school that was next door to St. Clair, on this side, this side, this side, or behind me. Because teachers don't work together. Because if you share something that you have with somebody else, they might steal your kids. So there's a real closed system in schools about sharing things. And what we wanted to do was to start collaboration with all of these, to have everyone help everybody else with professional development. So we do 2 conversation days per year where we invite in all of the EdVision sites. And truly, it's a conversation day. We determine what's going to be talked about as we gather everyone together. So we don't have a preset agenda. If there's things that we have to do, some of the housekeeping stuff, we go ahead and do that. And then finally, we wanted teachers to be owners. At New Country, that plays out. We have a staff right now. We have 9 licensed teachers. 3 of those are special ed because of our high special ed population. And then we have an administrative assistant and we have some aides, but everyone there sits on a site-based team, at least 2. I'm a licensed administrator in the building. Thank you. I'm a licensed administrator in the building, but the teachers hire me. I don't hire them. And if I screw up, I can be gone tomorrow. So it's a whole different shift of the way schools have been run in the past. And we believe that teachers know what kids need. They're the closest to the students. They know the students the best, and teachers need to have the power to change and to make a difference. So we looked at that real carefully, and we wanted to make sure that we were doing that.